Okay, so welcome all of you to the Arts for Life series. And it's really so gratifying that we are on this fourth art. We began in February, and today we are on the art of sustaining the self. In Hindi, we say Palna Karne Ki Kala. And it's a beautiful art because we always try to sustain others. But we, in that process, forget that most important is self-sustenance. And to speak on this beautiful art, a very deep art actually, we have with us a very dear and a very senior Rajyogi, Sister Denise, all the way from south of France. So welcome, Sister Denise. And before I pass it on to you, just a brief introduction. We don't need to extensively speak about Sister Denise. She's been with us many times, and people listen to her very often on her YouTube channels and enjoy her wonderful sharings, the deep sharings on Raj Yoga. She has been one of those first students of Brahma Kumaris when Brahma Kumaris went to the UK. And Daddy Janki was instrumental, and she's one of the first students. That's late way back in 1974, almost more than 50 years now. And after that, there's no looking back for Sister Denise. From 1975 to 2000, those 25 years, the first foundation years of hers, she served as coordinator of centers in many parts of the world, Germany, Canada, and USA. She also featured on almost 100 television programs on Raj Yoga and another further 100 TV programs on addiction recovery. And she also has been instrumental for staying at the headquarters of Brahma Kumaris in Mount Abu, India, from 2001 to 2007, where she's dedicated her time to write 10 textbooks of the various diploma programs which we do in India. I mean, they are very famous, and they cover education, values, and spirituality, how to inculcate the values in our lives and spiritual education. She has also served as a national coordinator for the BKs in Canada from 2007 to 10. And now, since almost before the COVID time as well, she now is instrumental in the south of France, doing her service there. So thank you so much for being there. And I would request now to Sister Claudia, please welcome with the flowers. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all of you, and special to you, Sister Denise. It's a pleasure to have you talking with us about sustaining the self, because you keep sustaining us for so long. So you are going to present to everyone now today how to sustain ourselves. And so I like to welcome you and give you some very nice flowers that is from our heart to your heart. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us.
Beautiful.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. It's a very big pleasure. Honor, actually. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
You.
So thank you so much, Sister Claudia. And just to give you all a perspective, and to Sister Denise as well. So this is a 1-hour session. It's almost 55 minutes left. So we'll be having your talk for around first 45 to 50 minutes, followed by a brief question and answer 10-minute session and a closing meditation. So it's a 1-hour session, not a 1.5 hour, just to let you know. And all of you can just send your questions to me relating to the topic on art of sustaining the self. And with this, over to Sister Denise. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, Dr. Manoj, and all my sisters and brothers and translators and everyone. Sustaining the self is very essential because ultimately, if you think about it, maybe people don't like to think about it, but ultimately, everyone is on their own. And of course, we say and we know that you're always with God, but then God is subtle, invisible. And if we are in our state of soul consciousness, then we're on the same wavelength, the same dimension as incorporeal God. But when you feel that you need something, you immediately drop down to be on the material level, the sense perception level, and then it becomes very difficult to be connected. And so at this time, we are students, and as students, we are practicing to be many things. And one of them is called karma yoga. And karma yoga is quite important if you want to sustain the self, because it's the practice of being in soul consciousness and in tune with incorporeal God and doing various activities. That means it's a kind of multitasking activity because you have to be inside and outside and up at the same time. And for many people, you're either inside or outside or up or down. But to be everything all at once, all the time, is quite an art. So it's very interesting that we're calling this the art of self-sustenance. Because we are in the context of our fellow students and we are around many who are teachers, it's very easy to fall into a situation where you are depending on others to sustain you. Because in the context of a spiritual university or school, then you are with your fellow students, you are with the teachers, you are listening to the spiritual knowledge. And so you're in a context which is itself very sustaining. But it's also not like that all the time. And there are definitely, I think everyone is very aware that we are in very much more unstable and uncertain times than previously. So all the more reason why it's very important to be able to sustain the self. We're in times of change. The world is changing around us, and even within the context of our own spiritual practice, our own spiritual organization, which we call the sacrificial fire of knowledge, there are many changes happening in this environment as well. Because as time goes by, those who are the founders, they move on, they leave the body, and it's replaced by others, and it becomes broader and wider, and the activities become more and more complex and varied. And it is a time when you don't find so much that there are people who are thinking about you and wanting to make sure that you feel sustained by the gathering, sustained by incorporeal God, sustained by the study, etc. And so it's really a time when we have to understand and accept that I have to look after me. And not everybody is necessarily comfortable with that idea, but I think it's very good it's all part of the process of maturing, of growing up, of growing into a form of independence. It's very easy to remain dependent on systems and circumstances and methods and rituals and customs and all of these things. But any time, any of it can be gone. And there you are with just yourself, to look after yourself. And I think this is very important, because eventually there comes a time when, you know, in normal life, you grow up, you have your parents, you have your family around you, you go to school, you have kindergarten, lower school, middle school, upper school, then you have college, university. And in all of these processes, you are surrounded by people who are with you on the pilgrimage of spiritual practice. But yet, every so often, it is necessary to experience oneself being completely alone. And this is also connected with a very interesting concept, which is called disillusionment. Now, normally people think of this word disillusionment as a bad feeling. You get disillusioned, something that you thought was there isn't there anymore, or something that you thought was real isn't real anymore. Disillusionment is a very, very important experience along the spiritual practice. And whenever you get a feeling of disillusionment, it's very important to think, okay, now what's happening? I am, or I feel disillusioned. I feel that there's nobody around to, you know, be there for me, to sustain me, to support me. There should be what's happening, something wrong. And so this kind of thing can bring on this feeling of disillusionment. And if ever you experience anything like that, it's a very important moment to stop and look inside and ask yourself, I think, this very important question. Is it better to live under illusions, or is it better to see everything very clearly? And I think when you put the question to the self in this way, the answer is pretty clear, that obviously, you know, I don't want to live under all sorts of illusions, because I'm here to understand what's real, to experience what's real, to live as an authentic person in a real space, social, political, whatever it is, but real. And for that, we have to be mature. And so this moment of disillusionment can very usefully catapult us into facing this question and answering it is, okay, no, I do not want to be under illusions, and whatever disillusionment I may or may not have experienced or felt, the definition of being free from illusions is, this is good, because I think a very important part of spiritual practice is to move away from illusion. Now, illusion is an interesting word, because we use in our study and practice the word Maya. And Maya is translated in many different ways. And usually people think that Maya is the same as the five vices: greed, anger, lust, attachment, ego, and so many other, you can say, negative characteristics. But one thing I have been doing recently is to take out the word vices for these things and replace it with the word emotions. Because if you think about it, anger is an emotion. Desire is an emotion, it's feeling. And so I think that once you have a feeling, a negative feeling, or you feel a negative emotion, and you have to decide, you will act on it or you will restrain yourself, or what. If you act on it and if you're feeling angry and then you start behaving with violence, then it's the violence that's the vice, not the anger. And so I make that difference now, because it's not really a bad thing to feel whatever you feel, but then you have to decide what you're going to do about it. And it's in what you do about how you feel that determines whether it's good or bad. And so when you feel disillusionment, that's also a feeling. And it's a feeling that provokes many thoughts. And as you know, when we get a negative feeling which provokes many thoughts, we call that waste thoughts. And even I make a difference in how I define this word "viert," you see. And I don't really use the word waste for that, because it's not clear enough for me. I need to know exactly what we're dealing with here. So I translate "viert-sankalp" as thoughts which do not have significance, which do not have substantial meaning. And I find that much more useful, because then as soon as I say to myself, okay, these thoughts that are being provoked by this feeling, they don't have serious validity in a spiritual practice. So I will say to them, sit down, be quiet. I have more important things to think about. And here is where we start to use the power of the knowledge. Every day we listen to the Murlis, we listen to the teachings of Shiv Baba through Brahma Baba, and this is our food for thought on a daily basis since the moment we began our practice of Raj Yoga until the present time. And so this information that we receive can be received on many, many different levels. It's very extraordinary how at the very beginning, when you have only just, had the introduction course to Raj Yoga, or at the end, when you have been doing the practice for decades, you're still listening to the same Murlis as all the other people, but you're listening to it differently, depending on who you are, depending on what's your level of yoga, depending on what's your expertise in churning the knowledge. And this, I think, is a very important element as well. I think the most tangible thing that we have in the practice of Raj Yoga is the words of the Murli, because they are black and white on a piece of paper. They were spoken and recorded, and we can read them, listen to them, study them, so they are tangible. Otherwise, yoga is all about communing in an intangible way with the intangible supreme being of light, who is invisible and bodiless. And yet people tend to desire some tangible thing. They look for results. They look for something that they can hold on to physically. And that means as soon as we get into this sort of thinking, it means we become dependent on external things. But Raj Yoga is telling us at all levels, but we don't actually grasp it right away. It takes a long time to really go from physical consciousness to the subtleties of spiritual consciousness. And this is why it is a journey of a lifetime. And as we move along the journey, serious obstacles are essential, because until we experience a serious obstacle, we cannot actually progress. This is my experience, that we just kind of stay on the same level, and we like that as long as everything is manageable. We don't have to struggle, it's fine, but there's no progress. And so sometimes people feel bored because they don't feel they're progressing, and that can make them fall away from the practice. Or they'll say, well, there's nobody sustaining me. And so your attention goes to the outside and you say, nobody's sustaining me, therefore I will fall apart. But that's faulty logic. To me, I would say, okay, if nobody's sustaining me, then so what? I must sustain myself. Like any child, you get sustained by your mother, father, teacher, gurus, but you grow up and then you become a self-sustainer, and even you can sustain others. But also, I think anyone who is a form of parent must teach the child to stand on his or her own feet. And this is something Daddy Yankee always used to talk about. Are you able to stand on your own feet? Can you stand on your own feet spiritually in terms of the wisdom and the understanding? If you can do that, then you have a solid foundation and you can handle the obstacles. But the obstacles come to give you an opportunity to shift from one level of practice to a much higher level. And instead of thinking that the obstacles are not good and finding someone to blame, that why are you disturbing my spiritual journey and stopping me from reaching my destination? Again, this is looking to the outside, which is not really looking in the right place for the answer. We have to look inside. We have to look at the knowledge itself, which tells us, and I don't know how many of you are aware about the details of the Bhagavad Gita, but there is one interesting line in there where God says to his student Arjuna, stand up and fight. And this is also the role of an obstacle, which says, okay, now stand up and fight. That means stand up for yourself, fight against your immaturity, your ego reactions, your whatever it is that is in the way of you getting that kind of clarity, which takes you to a more subtle space. And then you look at the obstacle and say, wow, this was for me. Without this, I would not reach that level of practice and study and understanding that I'm in now. And you can't go back, because it's like, in a way, you passing through glass ceilings. At one time, I had this image in my mind of the practice of Raj Yoga like a glass pyramid. And it had floors on it, like first floor, second floor, third floor, etc. And of course, when you're going up a pyramid, the floor space is always smaller as you go up, because eventually at the top it's just a point. And sometimes people say, oh, well, it's lonely at the top. But actually, loneliness may be there, but the important expression is solitude. And this is a word that comes from time to time in our study, ekant priya. We love solitude, but yet when people are alone, there are two things. One is that you aspire to solitude, and the other is you are afraid or disturbed by loneliness, because we are, in the context of people, we are a family, but at the same time, it's very important to be able to handle being alone. And every time you experience yourself to be alone, either physically or because some obstacle has pushed you away from being surrounded by your different support systems, you have to face this question. Do you want to go into the details and the depth of what it means to be a person in solitude? And the advantage of solitude is that there's no one else except you and your relationship with incorporeal God. And this is anyway what you have aspired to. When we are seekers of truth at a certain point in our lives, we arrive at Raj Yoga and we say, oh yeah, this is very good for me right now. This is what I've been looking for. And Raj Yoga puts us not on the path of seeking, but on the path of discovering. So we're discovering ourselves. We're discovering the details of the drama, which we are all in, which we are all actors of. And we're also discovering that we can position ourselves, and we are encouraged to position ourselves independently of the drama. So I, the soul, am here in this body, but I'm not this body. And everything in the drama is something that I experience via sense perception. So from that angle, you can say, I'm not in the drama. I can go in the drama, but I'm not, tied up in the drama. I can drop in and drop out again as I wish. And sometimes it is said that the drama is your creation. So you decide who you are, what role you play, what you will do, or sometimes your role is whatever you happen to be doing. That's your role because it's a drama. It's predestined. And what you're looking for is, who am I? And when you become independent of the drama, then you are inside. And it is said that, in Hindi, antarmukhi sada sukhi. Sukhi means you're happy, but not just happy. You have great wealth. You have great wealth of knowledge, expertise, experience, personal power, and you are in contact with what is not in the drama. You are in contact with the creator of the drama. You are in contact with the Supreme Being, your father, mother, teacher, friend, beloved. And this is what you wanted in the first place. So it's very paradoxical. Sometimes we want it, and then when we get it, we say, oh, no, I don't want to be alone. But yeah, you asked to be alone, not necessarily in those words, but yeah, all of us have asked to be alone with God, alone with ourselves, so that we can look at ourselves and see, okay, exactly who am I? When we're in the context of lots of people, we play roles, we get reflected by different people. It's like we're in a hall of mirrors, and we're just looking at all these mirrors, which are telling us who we are and what we are. Keeps changing. It's all very physical. But none of it is really what you are or who you are. It's so subtle. And because it's so subtle, it's on the dimension of the soul. It's on the dimension of God. But think about it. You have a relationship with someone who really knows the self and who really knows you and who is there to show you things that you cannot see any other way. And so it's extraordinarily exciting, but I think for many people it's very scary to go to that space, to go to that level. And so you like to go back to your safety zone, your comfort zone, as people like to say. But yet, sooner or later, we know, sooner or later, you will face that solitude. I mean, one fine day, all of us will die, and one by one, presumably. And we see, our elders, after some time, they leave, and then we have to step up. And the time comes when, okay, it's my turn. And so am I ready? Because this is the last sanskar, in a sense. The last sanskar is not when somebody burns your body. The last sanskar is when you say, it is okay for me to step out of the drama, to step out of this body and just be me and let go of everything and be with God. But we need practice for this. So every time we experience some disillusionment, some big obstacle, is a great opportunity to move to the next level. And it comes up every so often. So this, I think, is really a great key to the question of self-sustenance. Now, I'd like to also talk about other things which sustain us, which we must take advantage of. And one of them is service, you see. We have 4 subjects: knowledge, yoga, dharna. Dharna is explained in many ways. Sometimes it's said to be inculcation, but that's not very clear. Dharna is, to me, that you're absorbing the meaning and the implication of what you're learning. And you are accumulating the power of yoga and applying the powers and virtues and so on to your situation moment by moment. So this is very important, because Raj Yoga is not a theoretical thing. It's easy for us to speak the knowledge, to give talks, we're trained for that. But when it comes down to it, we have to be able to walk the talk, not just talk the talk. And some people, they sometimes say, okay, I've talked enough. Now I just want to really focus on walking the talk, actually living moment by moment, detail by detail, second by second. Am I soul conscious? Am I really aware of all of the cues of drama? Can I feel the situation and circumstances, what is needed from me at any given moment, so that I do really pure karma at the level of thought, word, action, vibration, connections, all of these things. A point comes when you say, no, this is really Raj Yoga. I'm just talking about it. That's not it's not really the level that I want to be on. I'm happy to talk about it, but I can't just talk about it and not be it, you see. So this then becomes a very important part of self-sustenance, because every time you be what the knowledge is talking to us about, you're actually performing a pure karma, and you're actually accumulating a lot of personal power, a lot of personal energy. And this is self-sustenance, because you are not going to be empty or feel lonely or feel isolated or anything like this, but you're coming into your power, and you are being the complete person that Baba is teaching us to be. And then when you're doing service, by being, that service reaches those who see you, those who feel you, those who watch you. They sense something. Just telling someone doesn't mean that they get it, or they sense it, or they take it into their lives and start to become it. But if you are really sustaining yourself while in the context of other people, I think this is a very interesting kind of service which allows you to be always sustained, with or without anybody to talk to, with or without a good place, with or without an audience, with or without people respect you, love you, etc., etc. Those things become just by the way. And indeed, a yogi is someone who is free from these different pairs of opposites: fame, defamation. They love you, they don't love you, they notice you, they don't notice you. All of these are the pairs of opposites for which a yogi practices to be neutral. And so thinking about making yourself internally very powerful by your pure karma, and also quite neutral about what happens, because none of it means that you're good or you're bad or whatever. It's what's going on and how you play your hand in the midst of different circumstances. This is what we are graded on, actually. And for this, we do need to really practice to be, in a sense, invisible and not looking for feedback, just being. And through that, you can really sustain yourself quite well. Now, another area that I'd like to mention for self-sustenance has to do with the practice, the details of the practice. We have our daily routine, we have our study, we have our meditation. We need to build up to what Baba had said, 8 hours a day in yoga. And we have to think about, what does that mean? How do you do that? How do you quantify these things? How do you check yourself in a very subtle and meaningful way so that you really know how you are doing, how you are progressing, how you are advancing, so that you're not under any illusions about yourself, but you're clear, monitoring yourself moment by moment. And then there's no surprises. So we must just look at how we move through our day and see that every part of it corresponds to the description of a deity soul, the description of a yogi, the description of a tyagi, a tapasvi, and then really start looking at our titles. And these titles are very important that Baba gives us: Swadarsan Chakradhari, the spinner of the cycle of the self. It's a title, and it's an identity. Trinetri, do we have the third eye? Is the third eye open? Are you seeing what cannot be seen by the two eyes on a continuing basis? Because if you are, you don't need anybody to look after you. You don't need anyone to sustain you. You've learned through the use of these titles to make yourself grow up, to make yourself into a sage, a wise person who moves around, and then other people, they observe you. And it's one of the spiritual laws that people will watch you and they will do what you do. People will not necessarily do what we say or pay attention to what we say. Not necessarily, some may, many will, but not all. But if you are the embodiment of these teachings, and you are building yourself moment by moment, using all the things that are being given to us in different moments, use different methods. And there you're really taking care of yourself. And I think that by doing that, if everything you know and love falls away for any reason, you're still there, solid, standing by your own power. You're connected with the imperishable Supreme Soul. And there you are in your power, and nothing can take you out of that. Nothing can disturb you or distress you or whatever. And this, to me, is how I move forward in the way of sustaining myself. So I think I'm going to stop there so that there's enough time for some questions. And so thank you very, very much for your kind attention. Shanti.
Shanti. So thank you so much. Very deep sharings on self-sustenance, and you very aptly covered about service and practice. The practice of our daily routine, it's also very important. And 8 hours, how to do, we have to really set out our entire timetable about that. One question which is standing out here is about, you spoke about drama. You said drama is your own creation and it's also predestined. So someone is asking, it sounds very paradoxical, that what is my role in drama? Can I create it or it's predestined? You want to just clarify that?
Well, Gyan by definition is paradoxical. And so you have to really sit with yourself and think about, can I handle paradox, or am I limited to it's either black or it's white? It can't be both black and white. But if you spin the cycle, everything is both black and white at all times. That's paradoxical. And the drama, it's not me who said this, is it Baba who said this? I'm just repeating what he said, you are the creator of the drama. He says he's the creator of the drama, the creator, the director, and the main actor. And then each and every one of us has our own little drama, right? Because where does drama exist? If you think about it, how does the soul make contact with the material world is through your sense perception. And so everything that you can see and hear and taste and touch, you can experience it, provided you have a brain, because the soul makes contact with matter through the body. So everything which is on the outside of you is actually experienced on the inside of you in your mind. You see, and your mind is one of the faculties of the soul. So, then you say, ooh, what am I? It's deep, it's subtle. It takes forever to figure it out. But anyway, we're going slowly, slowly. So all these things are in your mind. They occur second by second, and then you remember them or you forget them, but they go in. And sometimes you get sensory overload, so you just can't keep track of what's happening because there's so much happening that you just are unable to remember any of it because you're busy taking in the next bit. This happens when you've got a vast amount of activities and people and craziness going on. You can't remember, what happened today? I have no idea. It happens like that. But then it's predestined. So, okay, how do we work with this thing of being a perceiver of what's going on and knowing that it's predestined? And I remember one interesting thing Daddy Prakash Mani said when somebody asked her what was going to happen next about something. She said, "Who has seen tomorrow?" And of course, she understood the knowledge really well. And so he said, you need to learn how to use the drama. So everything is predestined, no doubt, but you don't know what is predestined until it's happened and has been registered in your consciousness. And then you say, this was predestined. And in a sense, this concept of predestination encourages an individual to take care what they're doing, because don't do anything regrettable. Otherwise, you're putting it in the drama. And then you'll say, oh, well, it was destined. And then somebody will say, oh, yeah, it was destined for you to put it in there. What about your free will? And you say, well, I didn't exercise my willpower. Why didn't you exercise your willpower? Because I'm weak. Why are you weak? Because I'm not meditating. You see, eventually, any time we do anything regrettable, the only reason I can figure out, there may be a better one, but the only reason I can figure out is because you're weak. When you're weak, you're not attentive. You're not attentive, you're not concentrating, distracted. You see, this is normal human state of being. And then Baba says, no, that's not necessary for you. You can pay attention, be attentive, be conscious what you're doing, how you're doing. Don't be distracted, be focused. And then you will find that you will develop your willpower and you will actually be able to take responsibility for what you're doing. And if you make a mistake, like they said for Mama, you know, that she never made the same mistake twice because she learned from her mistakes. So it's not that we shouldn't make mistakes, but that we shouldn't repeat them because we know better. And this is the process of becoming the master over the drama. Of course, there are things that are outside of our control, and then we have to quickly adopt the stage of a detached observer and say, you know, this is something, there's nothing I can do about it, so I just have to be a detached observer and allow it to be what it is. And you have to make a relationship with drama so that you notice when it says, okay, now do something, and do it quickly. You have 1 second to do that. And then on the other hand, there are certain things which are just there and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's when drama is saying, okay, now sit down and allow whatever's happening to happen because there's nothing you can do. And this is wisdom, to know the difference between when you have to act and when you have to realize that there's nothing you can do and not even feel bad about what happened because it's destined. You see, it's very subtle. And yet this is the core of our teachings. So we need to, you know, spend time with ourselves, spend time with each other, thinking about this to be able to grasp it more clearly, more deeply as time goes by.
Right. So in essence, you can't apply the point of drama for future. It is for something which has happened in the past, and you can say it was drama, it happened. Fine. We need to really make effort for the future, not say drama and sit down like that. Okay. Another question, this brother is asking that you spoke about delusions. So he's asking, how can I distinguish whether I have actual knowledge or it's my delusion? Maybe
Actually,
my bhava.
I didn't
Sorry.
mention delusion at all. I mentioned disillusionment.
Yeah, disillusionment. So anyway, so do you want to speak about, he's saying, I have actual knowledge or delusions. So I don't know, he's saying, is it my bhavna? That's what he's saying.
Well, first of all, we can look at these words, okay? A delusion is when you think something is real and it's not. So how do you know it's not real? Usually when people have delusions, they wake up from it. Somebody has, very often the word delusion goes with delusions of grandeur. So this is often spoken, and sometimes Baba talks about it. When a person is drunk, they think they're the king, but they're not, you know, and they're the only person who thinks they're the king. Everybody else thinks they're drunk and they just lost it. And so this is delusion. But disillusionment is everybody has illusions. They believe something, like you believe, you know, all Raj Yogis, seniors are perfect, right? Yes? You believe that? At least for a while. And then you realize, no, everybody's human and everybody makes mistakes. And when you get that realization, that could be a moment of disillusionment because you believe, like a baby, that, you know, all these people are perfect. Even though Baba says nobody's karmatit yet. Everybody's trying to become karmatit. And sometimes he even said, so when a person in high position is not acting in the right way, then at that time they are not a Maharati, for example. And so we need to really pay attention to these guiding principles that Baba is telling us about, so that we don't sit with just black and white, immature thinking, and acquire some subtlety and understand that this practice and life itself is very paradoxical, and we cannot allow ourselves to be comfortable with all sorts of faulty logic and baby-mindedness. Sometimes, Baba says, you're all babies. It came in a Murli not long ago. And when he says things like that, we have to think, okay, what does he really mean by that? Am I a baby? What is a baby? A baby is somebody who thinks in black and white. They don't do all the different shades of gray. They say it's either this or it's that. A baby is somebody who puts themselves in the center of the universe and everything turns around them. If something's bad, it's because of them. If something's good, it's because of them. This is called baby. But gradually we grow up and we sit on the side and we watch the drama, and we see there are times when I have to come in and do something. The drama is demanding it and I have to pick it up. Other times the drama says, okay, just stand there and learn from what you're experiencing and move forward. So we have to be very sensitive to the kind of messages that the drama gives us also. It's not really very easy, Raj Yoga.
Yeah, that was the next question, because you always cover. In Hindi, we say Sahaj Raj Yoga, and then it's translated as easy Raj Yoga, but nothing is easy about Raj Yoga.
Exactly. And I have studied this word Sahaj, and there's lots of meanings. And recently I came across a new one, which I thought was wonderful. Sahaj was defined as innate. Innate, that means it is in you, it is natural for you to be a yogi. And so you have to find again your natural nature. Sometimes Baba says, where is your natural nature? And we say, what's that? But if you think of Sahaj being innate, then it sort of sends you on a track of churning, which opens up some doors that maybe you hadn't opened before. So I found it really very enlightening.
Okay, the next question is, speaking of support system, you just made a passing mention. So the question is, how do I strengthen my support system? I know it's a big topic. You can summarize it.
Well, it depends what you mean by support system, because there are some stories about that, which we've also heard alluded to by Baba sometimes. Do not stand on a roof made of straw, because you will fall through. And a lot of people think that they should be supported by people, by a role, by money, by position, by property, by power, by all these things. And these are actually transient. So there's no point in strengthening transient support systems. What you need to strengthen is the support system of your relationship with God, your relationship with your yoga, your relationship with your study, because this, as he said in the Murli today, this will go with you when you leave your body. That's a big support system.
Absolutely. And I think in the interest of time, I'll take this as the last question. You spoke in the initial part, just in the first few lines, about karma yoga. So many people feel that work is worship. And I just keep working, and that is karma yoga. But I think at Raja Yoga teaches you karma yoga is something else. So do you want to allude to that? What is karma yoga in Raja Yoga?
Well, this expression workers worship comes from bhakti, not from gyan. So you have to decide, are you in gyan or are you in bhakti? Because you can't really be both at the same time, because you have a foot in two boats and they will separate and you will fall in the water. Not a good spot. So karma yoga means to be in yoga while you are engaged in thought, word, and act. This is karma yoga. Now, a lot of BKs think karma yoga means washing the floor and all those physical yagya service, but it's better to call it yagya service than karma yoga, because otherwise you just do not do any karma yoga, and then you can't be a karma yogi. But people sometimes take an expression and give it a new meaning, which causes the original meaning to be lost and forgotten. And then eventually you have to have a moment of disillusionment when you realize that karma yoga is not at all yagya seva, is something different. You can do yagya seva in yoga, no doubt, but you can also do physical work without being in yoga. But it doesn't make it worship. We don't do worship because we are trying to become worship worthy, so that's incompatible.
Wonderful, spot on. Thank you so much for so distinguishing bhakti and gyan. Fantastic. So I'm afraid time is up. So I'll hand it over to Sister Anu for the vote of thanks. Over to you, Sister Anu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Manoj. And Sister Denise, it's so wonderful always and always to listen to you, because you really take us deep into that innate. I love that understanding Sahaj is innate. Wonderful talk. I'm sure everyone, we need to go back to this with our own solitude time, antarmukhi time, to understand. Loved it, as you said, that don't make your support system cannot be the straw house. All that is in the drama. But having the love, making the decision to move away from this illusion, as you said, and finding yourself is important. You said antarmukhi will be happy because you're not in contact with the drama, but in contact with the creator, and who is creating the karma and everything, such deep aspects. So knowledge becomes our true source of sustaining the self. Really very deep topic, but I'm sure we'll all benefit. So thank you from the heart, from everyone who is attending today, and the whole team. At the end, we'll do a comment. Yes, Manoj brother?
Yeah, that's okay. So I'll just quickly do the sharings and then we'll go in the meditation mode. And if you can be ready with the...
Okay.
You want to... Sure. Yeah. Shall I share the screen or... Okay.
So yeah, let's just quickly go through the announcement, and at the end, Sister Denise will take us through a commentary, meditation experience. So as we do this Art of Life series, every topic is explained, or we look through in 4 aspects, so 4 episodes. The second one, episode 4B, would be the inner reflections on the topic, the art of sustaining the self, with Sister Judy Johnson from Halifax. So join us same time next week. So we go deeper into an experiential journey on the topic. And continuing, we will do the workshop, episode 4C, on the same topic. We'll take up some practical exercises from the talk from today, as well as the next next week's talk. And also followingly, we do a silence retreat. So we'll share all the info moving on. You can see this is our June calendar. So everyone who is in our contact list received this. So if you want to share your contact list to be notified, please share with us your contact info. I also wanted to mention today that we had a 4 years journey with Values for Life series with all the senior Raj Yogis. They're really deep insights on various values, 4 years of every Saturday session. So we are creating a book on that. Many of you know. So if you want, it is in preparation. If you want a copy for yourself, please send us an email to valuesforlifeseries@gmail.com. And yes, for more information, visit us on our websites, vihasa.in and vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca, or write us an email, for both the email IDs are active. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'll hand it over to Sister. Actually, we also take a photograph. Sorry, I forgot that. If everyone wants to open your video, we memorize, we make this moment our moment, deep learning. So if you open your video, I'll take a snapshot. Everyone, you have 2 more seconds. If you want to open your video, be with Sister Denise. Wonderful. So many photos opening up. There you go. Yeah. So everyone deeply connected with their inner self, the innate ones. Sorry, I'm taking more time because one after the other people are opening their video. So yes, thank you so much. We'll share the photo as well. Over to Sister Denise. Thank you, Sister.
Oh, Shanti. And take the time to go within. I really feel I am not this body. I am the tiny, subtle being of light. Non-physical. I have within me the whole experience of the past, present, and future. It is there. And I am the being who is free, independent. I can step into the drama and also step out. For a moment, stepping out and being close to the Supreme Being, the one who knows, the one who has taught us all this. Because now the drama is finishing and starting again. It's a time of transition, of letting go and letting everything come in new again. This is a time to be still and silent, letting go and be thankful for everything that has brought us to this space. And know that I am at peace. I am myself forever. And I am with the Supreme Being who is with me forever. Om Shanti.
Shanti, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dee.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.